Today, we're talking about the 5 fastest ways to build credibility in your industry. Easy steps, proven steps, anyone can do them. And let's jump into it. Hey, what's up? Let's get going. I meet people all the time who are trying to figure out how to build credibility in their industry. And they ask me because I worked in an industry for a really long time, but left. And when I left corporate, I started to build my own brand offline, and people started to notice and ask, like, how did you do that? Like, do I have to do all those things? Like start a podcast, a YouTube channel, all those things. And the answer is no. You don't have to do all those things that would make you like a creator or an influencer in the space to be recognizable in your industry. Now, to be honest, these are things that I had wish I had done earlier in my career. I wish I had gone out there and started finding my voice in my industry and learning the ways that people build reputation, but I didn't. It took me leaving my industry to figure out how to do that. But today I get to share those tips with you. There's 5 of them, and I personally think it's the fastest way and easy to build your reputation in your industry, hands down. Anyone can do this. Write these things down. Here we go. First one. None of these are groundbreaking, by the way, but they are important. The first one, which I guarantee you 90% of you haven't done. Write an article on LinkedIn. Write an article on LinkedIn and start to do it every week if you can. Just one article. I'm not saying post on LinkedIn every day. Write one article. Why is that? Well, when you write an article, it forces you to come up with a perspective. Now, this could be anything in your industry. You don't have to be an expert. You just have to be curious and do a little work and say, okay, what are the things that are happening right now? What are things that I have an opinion about? And share your perspective. It's easy to say, okay, generally I think this, and here's why, and tell me how you guys feel about it. Getting into the habit of writing articles is going to make you a better writer and a better thought leader because it forces you to think. A simple post on LinkedIn won't do that. Simply figuring out like, hey, ChatGPT, write me 2 paragraphs to post on LinkedIn about my industry isn't going to help you be found. And also it's making you a worse thinker, not a thought leader. And you'll know these when you see them. I come across them now all the time, more than I care to admit. When I see people trying to put themselves out there on LinkedIn, but they're using AI to do it, and it's pretty obvious. Even if you don't think it is, it is. It's just not original, and people don't talk the way AI talks. So get out there, write something. Don't judge yourself for it. It doesn't have to be very long. It could be, call it 800 words to start, right? That's generally you coming up with an idea, a couple of supporting points, and a conclusion. They don't have to be groundbreaking. They could just be things that you've heard that you are reiterating in your own voice. When I started to do this, I wanted to describe what branding is. And I said, okay, there's 3 things about branding that matter. Your brand voice, your brand image, and brand love is what I called it, which I meant your relationship with your customers. I just kind of invented those 3 things, but they were concepts that were pretty common in marketing. And I just explained why they were important and what to think about when you're kind of going through those things. So anything can be original to you if you just name it and describe it and come up with things that you're doing every day. Another easy way to do this is to do a little research and say, okay, what's something I'm really curious about right now? I'm curious about a couple of tools or a couple of different ads that came up or a couple of different things in my industry that people are using in tech or tools or AI, whatever it might be. What are things that you could share that you got curious about, you read something about, and share that idea? What are some books you're reading? Share those ideas. Point is, get those ideas into a format that you could write. And I say start with writing because it's easy for us to kind of take it slow. I think the easiest form to communicate is just talking to a camera or turn the camera off and record on a device. Maybe do that, like journal and see what comes out. But turn those journals into articles on LinkedIn. and don't judge yourself for how they're written. Just write them and share them. Now, why on LinkedIn? Well, because that's professionally where you're going to be seen by most people. And maybe they're not going to see it until, 3 years later when you're looking for a job and that person is interviewing you and they're seeing what you've shared. But maybe by then you've shared in a year 52 articles because you shared one every week, or 26 articles because you shared one every other week, whatever you're comfortable with. But get started today. And when you need it, you look back and it's there. The proof of your thought leadership is there. Simple. Start by writing articles on LinkedIn. All right, second thing you could do. I know that first one was long. Second thing you can do, join a group or association in your industry, in your city. Join a group or association in your industry, in your city. Why is that? Well, most of the thought leadership starts with relationships. Getting to know as many people in your industry as possible is one of the most valuable things you can do for your career. Why? Well, because the people you meet, they're going to be peers in your industry. And when there are jobs, they might be the ones that know about them because they work at different companies than you work at. If you only talk to the people who are directly around you, then when you're looking for something, you have no one else to tap into except people who are already where you are. So going to industry events connects you with other places, other businesses in your industry that you can build relationships in. And that's not just true for corporate. It's true for everything. Entrepreneurs getting together with other entrepreneurs can share resources and ideas. People who are creators get together with other creators and share their ideas, their best practices. Finding ways to connect with other people in your industry is key. And at some of these associations and groups, they tend to share what's new and what's trending. And the things you learn there, the people you talk to, the ideas shared at these conferences can turn into things that you share back and write in your articles on LinkedIn. So it starts to feed the first thing I told you to do. All right, third thing you can do, go to events. Don't just join the groups and be on the emails and on the Zooms. Go to an event. Go to the events of that group, but also maybe pick an event in your industry that people know about and go to that event and walk around and learn and meet new people there too. This is the third way to really expand the things you're coming into contact with and the ideas that you're formulating. I had never done this, but had I started again in marketing, I may have joined the American Marketing Association and gone to their events, but I also would have gone to Social Media Marketing World or an Adweek event that was big in my industry so that I could see what is happening, what's trending, what's new, and meet the movers and shakers in the business. Because most people aren't making that extra effort. So be that person. As an entrepreneur, I go to events all the time. I figure out what's the project I'm working on, what's an event that I can go to where I have something in common with the people at the event, and I go. I go to Startup Week to talk to entrepreneurs. I go to marketing weeks and events to talk to marketers. I go to podcast conferences to talk to podcasters. When I wrote a book, I went to a book conference. When I started YouTube, I go to YouTube conferences. So there's so many things you could join that get you around more people, more thinkers. And a bonus tip, you can invite them to collaborate on some content if you want. All right, those are the first three. Write articles on LinkedIn, join groups in your industry, go to events. All right, fourth biggest thing you can do, write a speech, build a training. So not a lot of people are comfortable enough to write speeches. And it doesn't have to be that hard because once you've used the tools that are going to help you write articles on LinkedIn, it's the same tools that help you devise a speech. It's basically taking what you're saying and turning it into a training of some sort, saying, okay, well, here's how you do it, right? Here's a little bit of a story. Here's my ideas of how to do something better. And here's the takeaway and an action item that you could use. Turn your articles into some kind of training that other people would find helpful. And what's great is because you've already gone to a couple of events and you're joined a couple of groups, you can start there and say, hey, I notice you have a monthly meeting. Can I present this speech, this training at your monthly meeting? Most events, most conferences, most groups are looking for speakers all the time, especially local groups, local associations. For their members, they have monthly meetings, and usually it's the members that are presenting at those meetings. So see if that could be you. See if you can take that leadership role and express yourself in that way. And guess what? When you do that, you can start to capture footage of that. If it's a virtual presentation, you can download the Zoom call video footage. If it's in person, bring your phone, put it on a tripod or have someone grab it for you, but usually a tripod's the best. Put your phone on a tripod and record yourself giving that speech. You do that a couple times, suddenly you've got real footage of you sharing thought leadership. And that content, you can then edit it down to a 1 minute blurb, a 30-second, feature from that of you saying something interesting and profound. And you can post that on LinkedIn. You can share it in a way where people start to see, even just once a month, they might see a video that's like, oh, Sharon here has some interesting things to say. And look, she's giving it in a presentation format. They get to see your communication skills. They get to see you on stage with charisma giving a presentation. That's what they're looking for in a leader. And if you're your own business solopreneur, that's what followers are looking for. They're looking for leadership, someone who knows how to communicate and share their ideas. So write a speech, build a training. All right. Fifth most important thing. You've written your articles on LinkedIn. You've joined some groups in your industry. You went to a couple of events and you wrote a speech. Last, develop a pitch to share your ideas. Develop a pitch to share your ideas. So a pitch is just going to say, here's the title of the thing that I speak about, the speech you just wrote. Here's the title of it. Here's the description of what's in that speech. And here's 3 key takeaways. Every speaker has something like this. Even if they've never given this speech before, if it's a brand new speech, they had to start by writing this little description. The title, the couple of sentences that describe the speech, and the few key takeaways for the audience. So have that written out. And then when you send that message saying, hey, I'd love to speak at this meeting, you now have something that shows them this is exactly what I speak about so that they can decide yes or no. And when you have that, guess what? You can now pitch that same idea to other places. And you can say, hey, I have this, hey, there's this podcast. You can reach out to the podcast. There's someone on LinkedIn. There's someone on YouTube. There's an article that you could write for a couple of magazines, all based on this topic. And if you ever wanted to build your own portfolio online, you could either mention on LinkedIn that this is something you talk about, or if you ever want to start your own website, that could be something you mention on your own website. Here's some articles I've written. Here's a speech that I give. Here's a video of me giving a speech like this. It all starts to work together so that when someday someone's Googling you or searching you on LinkedIn, they're going to find more than the average person. Most people on LinkedIn are still just posting resumes. You, as someone who's growing in their thought leadership and leadership overall, has now real proof that you've done the work to be curious, to build relationships in your industry, to learn how to convey ideas, and to put yourself out there in the industry as a thought leader. Those are the 5 steps. Write LinkedIn articles, join groups in your industry, go to events, write a speech, and pitch yourself to speak. You do those 5 things, you are rocketing ahead of the rest. Most people won't do it. I hope you do. Thanks for listening. Catch you next time. Brands on Brands.